We need some like hype in. We are back. It's ya boys, Bahuki Montana, Tyler Lamb at Stadium Rant, and me, your magnanimous intro, Louie Stewart at BL Stewart 503. Guys, we're coming to you before the last week of football. Just gut-wrenching. I'm coping as hard as I possibly could cope. How's everybody else feeling? It's been a season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy it's over at this point with how my team played. But
You're
I'm
Jaden
also
Daniels fan.
yeah, I'm just praying and hoping for Jaden Daniels at this point.
Yeah, Tyler's been doing mock draft since week 5, so
that we have.
Stuff.
Bahuki, why don't you tell him how you feel, buddy?
Apathetic, I think is the word. Like I feel like, the Bills
every time.
Like clockwork, dude.
He's there until starts speaking.
And feel like it could have been the Bills playing this weekend, but again, we cannot get past Patrick Mahomes. He's pretty good at football. We were talking about it before the show, but on to basketball season. Soccer Champions League's coming back in the soccer world pretty soon here. Baseball spring training's around the corner. I live right down the street from the Yankees spring training facility. There's nothing like football season, man. It's gonna be it's the longest off season of all of them. And
at least the off season is like packed with stuff though. At least there's always something to talk about.
I honestly I've seen a lot of stuff that says, oh, this was the worst football season in recent memory. And I'm going to be honest, I think injuries alone may have assisted this narrative, like truly thinking about the fact that we didn't get to see really healthy Joe Burrow at all this year. It was just like a rotating carousel of backup quarterbacks. Like, as much as I love slandering the Jags, like Trevor Lawrence wasn't healthy for half the season. It just felt like quarterbacks, especially Daniel Jones was out. Not that that's a huge miss to me, but I mean, a notable starting quarterback, I would say. Huh? Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers got hurt in 0.5 seconds.
That's a great example, right? I've even forgot about Aaron Rodgers. In my mind, he's retired. I think it was a tough NFL season for a lot of people just because
he did not complete a single pass this year.
Yeah. I love that somebody posted a video and it was called Aaron Rodgers 2023 season highlights, and it's him running out with the flag, and that's it. And the video just ends.
That's it.
So sorry, Jets fans. Your own stadium did it to you. So I don't think any of us really feel that bad.
Nope.
Please get grass.
I do feel bad.
We feel bad, but please get grass is what I'm saying. Like real grass. So Super Bowl, we have a rematch from, I want to say, is it 2019?
2018.
2018. No, it's the 2019 season because the Pats won in 2018 against the Rams. Okay. Next one was Chiefs 49ers.
So 2019 Chiefs Niners. Back when, I wanted to do a little exercise real quick. Like, let's throw it back. How different are these teams now than they were then? Right? I thought
the 49ers, they still had Joe Staley playing left tackle instead of Trent Williams, I believe. I think that's a major point in this. I mean, Kansas City obviously had Tyreek Hill, major factor in that game. They had Sammy Watkins. They had Travis Kelce. I think they had Damian Williams, who played an excellent game as well on the KC side. Tyrann Mathieu. Like, the Chiefs have changed quite a lot. Obviously, I think Brandon Ayuk was the year after the year after this he got drafted.
Eric Fisher was still on the Chiefs. Like you said, Tyreek was still there. Let me look up the Niners real quick. The Chiefs, yeah, it's like they turned over, like he said, safety.
Was
Wide
Mostert
receiver.
the running back for the?
Mostert was the running back. Here we go. All right. Aziz Al-Shair was there, Quan Alexander, and Eric Armstead.
Mhm.
Let me keep going through this. So
Those,
that was
those guys got replaced by like Dre Greenlaw, Javon Hargrave, and like they're just better players now on the
Matt
49ers.
Matt Breida was a Niner at that point.
Ooh.
Defoe, DeForest Buckner was a Niner at that point. Man. D Ford was still a Niner. Jimmy G was quarterback. Obviously, Marquise Goodwin was a Niner. Yeah, they did have Dre Greenlaw at that point. Richie James, Jalen Hurd.
That team was really just like a really good defense and just like a really, really great scheme. Like there were like Jimmy G and George Kittle. Like Kittle was there. I'm pretty sure Debo might have been there. It might have been his rookie season.
I'm trying to find out.
But now they have CMC, they have Ayuk, they have Debo. Like Kittle's still there. Like this.
Yeah, their offense
is a whole different team.
Dante Pettis was a wide receiver. DJ Reed Jr. was a cornerback for them then. Debo was on the roster. Richard Sherman was still in the league, and he was a corner for the Niners.
He got
Joe
cooked
Staley
that game.
Was a tackle, like you said. Solomon Thomas is still there, I think. But yeah, Jason Verrett, who's been literally on no team pretty much. Jimmy Ward, that just happened last offseason. But yeah, so these teams are pretty significantly different. But I feel like everybody's still kind of expecting the same outcome. I see a lot of Chiefs choices on our picks so far. So let's get into it. How do you guys see this game going? What do you think keys to victory are? Who are your winners and who's your winner? Who's your loser? Hookie, you want to go first on this one? A wise sage that you are.
Yeah, I'll stick with basically how I picked the last round of games. I want it to be the Niners, but I think it's going to be Kansas City. And maybe the Niners come out and run all over them. Believe me, I'd love to be wrong here. But this was my preseason pick too, going all the way back to the beginning of the year. I had Chiefs and Niners in this game, and I had the Chiefs winning it. I mean, for pretty much all of the obvious reasons. I think one of the biggest ones to highlight is Andy Reid off of a bye week.
He might be the best offensive play caller in the league.
Obviously, that we're looking at Patrick Mahomes, we're looking at Brock Purdy. Do I try in the event that it's like a one score kind of game? Do we really believe that Brock Purdy is going to like lead his team down against this Spagnuolo defense, and then vice versa? This Niners defense is really good. So are all the defenses that.
It's like only when he talks, it wants to cut out.
Yeah.
Ravens defense, Bills defense, both lauded. Miami, they were a little bit hurt, but I like Mahomes, and I mean, I don't know if I like Mahomes to get it done, but I expect Mahomes to get it done.
I like that little correction. Nobody likes Mahomes this season. You want to go next, or you want me to, Lim?
No, I can do it. So I'm on a little bit of a cold streak here, and that's why I'm going to pick the Chiefs in order to hopefully my bad juju can give them the bad juju, so the 49ers win.
I'm with that.
What I do see, like honestly though, like what I could see is that this is like a Tom Brady versus Eli Manning situation, and like all these fantastic top tier quarterbacks couldn't stop Tom Brady. Then you got Eli Manning coming in the cut, throwing these absolutely ridiculous, like shrugging off sacks, rolling out, throwing helmet catches to people. That's kind of how I view Brock Purdy.
That's what it's going to take.
That's kind of how I view Brock Purdy. As like the dude that nobody expects is able to beat Mahomes, but like they have an excellent team around him and he can do just enough to possibly do it. But I am gonna pick the Chiefs, but that's only because I want to like reverse psychology of the
Reverse
world.
juju.
Yeah, reverse juju. Also, as far if we're talking about the Pats too, you go ahead and reverse that Juju signing as well. I wish
We'll
we could
reverse
do
him back
that.
to the Chiefs.
Yeah, send him right back over there. I don't want him anymore.
Reverse juju.
But yeah, so the Chiefs just have such a good defense. Chris Jones is going to again make big time plays. Steve Spagnuolo, like you said, that dude's a big time game play caller. Like he shows up in the biggest games, and it's just going to be a lot to like the 49ers cannot afford to do what they've done against Green Bay and Detroit against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, or else it's going to be a really, really long Sunday. They got to be able to start hot. They can't get down and then try and crawl back into that game because the Chiefs actually have like a top 5 defense this year. Nick Bolton is playing out of this world. Trent McDuffie is a top tier cornerback. L'Jarius Sneed is an electric player as well. It's kind of like that different way of winning, but then you also have Mahomes, who's a magician and cannot be taken lightly. And to his credit, Travis Kelce's looked like he's on a mission right now. Like nobody's been able to stop him. Like 2 weeks ago against the Ravens, Kyle Hamilton didn't let up a single touchdown to a tight end all season, and he made light work of him, which was crazy. So, yeah, give me the Chiefs. Damn it, I'm not happy about it. Go for
Okay.
it.
Well, I guess I'll pick against the grain a little bit here. I am taking the Niners to win this, and I'll give you a couple reasons why. I think Shanahan has finally maybe unlocked the side of his offense that allows him to play from behind. If that had not happened in either of those 2 games, I would be picking the Chiefs. But both playoff games, they were trailing in the 4th. They found a way to come back and get it done. I think the team is finally putting it together a little bit, maximizing that potential to just know how to play from behind and not ground and, use the ground for the lead. I will also say that the Chiefs only scoring 17 points against the Ravens offense, and some of that coming off of really good field position, is not inspiring to me. Obviously, Mahomes is electric, and Travis Kelce had like 13 catches or something stupid. I think it was 11, maybe was the final number.
11
but
16.
Yeah, well, they do that by getting a lot of linebacker mismatches on Kelce. And I just don't think the Niners are going to run that scheme. I also just trust the Niners skill players a little bit more. I don't know if I agree on the Trent McDuffie comment. I think he's been good. I don't think he's been great. I do think L'Jarius Sneed is playing really well, but we've seen some corners who play really well not play super well against the Niners. Shanahan has a great offensive design. You said Andy Reid's the best offensive mind in the league. It's between him and Shanahan. And I think CMC is the true X factor in this game. The fact that guy can just house a call at any time is going to make the Niners, they make the Chiefs play different than they would play a different team. So with that in mind, I'm actually taking the Niners by a full touchdown in this game. I think they finally get their revenge, and I think this is a signature George Kittle game. He's one of the few remaining.
McCaffrey is such a great point. The dude is a bowling ball, and a lot of people think he's just the speed guy, or like he's just kind of like the receiving, like he can catch the ball, but like a lot of people don't understand, like that dude's one of the strongest people on the football field, and like he breaks tackles on the regular. So yeah, it's definitely got to be an issue to stop him. Like,
and
I'm
hoping Gus Edwards was averaging, now it's only on 3 touches, mind you, but he was averaging 7 yards per carry against that Chiefs. And the other running back numbers look similar, comparable, except for Lamar's. I don't think Shanahan's going to abandon the run as easily. I think he's going to do what he can to not put this on Purdy, and he's going to put it on his play calling and on his players. So I think you're going to see a lot of designed motion to Debo. I think you're going to see a lot of touches for CMC. I think you're going to see, CMC throwing the ball. You're going to see stuff like that because they don't want to make Purdy just carry the weight, right? He's only in his second year. He's never played in the Super Bowl before. And I think and also, here's a fun stat for you technically. Brock Purdy's undefeated in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't count that loss where he tore his that muscle in his elbow or whatever it was. He played like 6 minutes of that game or something stupid. So taking out the one where he got injured super early, he has not lost in the playoffs yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. I'm just trying, like I said, I want the 49ers to win, so if I get the pick wrong, I'm cool with it. I'm just not trying to, get that bad energy going for them. So, you guys have been picking well.
I think the biggest factor of this game, aside from, CMC, obviously, on the Niners side, and then Patrick Mahomes, I think, scrambling a lot with his legs on the Chiefs side, I think positionally on both sides, it's going to be a lot of dependence on the linebacker play. Yeah. And so we're going to see which of those position groups is able to contain an elite tight end, is going to be able to contain quarterback scrambles, and is going to be able to, attack two really powerful running backs. I don't think Pacheco's an elite running back, but the boy goes downhill.
They both have elite linebacking groups too. I think I'd give the edge to the Niners in that regard with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. I don't know how you can ask for a better linebacking group than that.
I think CMC will get Super Bowl MVP, but it probably will be deservedly Fred Warner.
All right. So you guys want to talk about some Senior Bowl? Want to get some Senior Bowl recap in here?
Yeah. So we're the Pass Pals this week. Blake and I got to go to the Senior Bowl in Mobile this last week. So shout out to that organization. If you have never been and you have the chance to go, it's truly a super exciting experience. They put on a really great product. There's so much family stuff outside before the game. They have the announcers, the play-by-play, parachuted onto the field. I thought it was a really cool showcase. We didn't get to go to the practices this week. We've been following online, but the game itself on Saturday was pretty amazing.
What do you think, Blake?
It was great. Got my Stadium Rant hat, got my Stadium Rant shirts over there. Needs to go through the wash machine. It was a little bit chilly. We were saying the next thing we need is Stadium Rant zip ups or pullovers for those cold weather games. We had a good time. We got down in the field, grabbed a couple pictures. Got a picture with Michael Penix Jr. Got a picture with Luke McCaffrey. We were trying to figure out the post game press conference, but we got out of there, and I had to make the long drive back to Tampa from Pensacola. But got to meet Louie's little girl Hazel.
Yeah, the true story. But as far as a Senior Bowl goes, one thing I really like about the Senior Bowl is I feel like it really gives a lot of I guess I would call them social media influencers in our space, a good look into not first round picks. What I mean by that is not everybody has time to do deep film study. Mad respect to all the guys who actually take the time and watch every snap. I was watching some play-by-play breakdowns, and those guys have a much longer attention span than I do. It's incredibly hard to do stuff like that. So when you attend these games in person, I think you just get to see people play against NFL talent. Because to me, that's the hardest part of being an unbiased evaluator. You have to take into account what school did they play? How good was this corner that was matched up on this receiver all game? You're looking at dudes who are hoping to get drafted. So, they're playing their hearts out. They're playing against equal talent. And I think it really allows dudes to showcase a lot of what they have to offer. So a couple of my big winners from the week. I thought Luke McCaffrey actually had a really good game. He had a really nice one-handed snag to move the chains. He was, doing some work as a kick returner. I will say quarterback play, aside from the first 2 drives, both sides of the ball was abysmal. It was super bad on Saturday.
Abysmal, right word.
Michael Penix Jr. did not play at all. Bo Nix only played 2 drives. Spencer Rattler only played 2 drives. And then we got to watch Sam Hartman. And who was the other guy from Tennessee?
Joe Milton from Tennessee.
Joe Milton. All right. So we got to watch dudes underthrow these guys all game long. But, these playmakers were doing their best. So I'd say Luke McCaffrey was a big riser for me. I think everybody's seen everything they need to see about Ladd McConkey. I think he solidified himself in the high second. If he's going to be a slot guy, if some team views him as a true X or Z, I think he'll go at the bottom of the first. But I think Luke McCaffrey probably raised his draft stock from like 7 to maybe 5-ish, late 4. He's a developmental piece. I really liked their running back, Amani Bailey out of TCU.
That was the name.
Is a big name to watch. He had an amazing day on Saturday. So if your team calls his name in the 3rd round, 4th round, you should be absolutely thrilled.
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah, Amani Bailey was the name that we heard all day. He was making plays, both taking handoffs, and he made some nice catches too. Cedric Gray was one of the linebackers from UNC. He had a great game. Made a bunch of big tackles. Came up with a really big swat on a 3rd down for what would have been a nice catch, but no, we didn't get to see any. It's worth noting how well the defense played in this game, and the defense in this game was a lot faster than what you see in your average college football game, and they were really flowing to the ball, and it was difficult for those quarterbacks that were out there. Sam Hartman, Notre Dame guy, for all of the smack talking I do about USC quarterbacks.
He's gonna get his Wi-Fi straightened out.
Notre Dame quarterbacks usually aren't too much better. Sam Hartman did not help his draft stock at all. There were a couple nice interceptions that were made. There was a guy from Louisville, a guy from Oregon. Evan Williams was the guy from Oregon. I was trying to look for the one from Louisville. I'll find it later. And another thing I wanted to say was about Bo Nix. He had a really nice touchdown, and then we saw Joe Milton try to make a similar play. This play I've seen more and more. I've seen Josh Allen make it the most, but I see other quarterbacks doing it too, where the quarterback gets rushed. He rolls out to his right, and as he gets past that the numbers, and he's almost to the sideline, he tries to throw back across his body, and Josh usually finds a guy right around the numbers or in the seam, and that was how Bo Nix got his touchdown. And then Joe Milton kind of tried to do something similar, but he totally forced it, and it was way across the field. It was past the goalpost, and it was just a crazy throw, and he was just doing way too much.
Yeah, I think it showcased processing speed for a lot of these guys, and I think it gave teams a lot of clarity into the 3rd, 4th, 5th round area. But yeah, I think if you guys haven't watched it, go watch some of the film. Ladd McConkey pops obviously throughout the practices. I think Michael Penix Jr. didn't really change his draft stock that much, if I'm being honest. He had some nice throws. He had some misses in the practices, and I can't really think of it. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is there are a couple offensive linemen who played. So if you're an offensive lineman lover, those dudes were holding it down all day long. There was one sack given up the whole game. I think the trench battle definitely went to the offensive line. Latu didn't play. I think Fuaga, I think however you say his name, I think he was there, and he did play, and he played really, really well. So it just feels like there's a lot of talent in this year's draft, maybe even compared to a couple years ago. couple choice quarterbacks. Receiver class is really deep. Dudes like, Lad McConkey is who everyone's going to talk about. In any other year, he'd be gone first round, I feel like, at this point. I think he showcased enough. But, I mean, you could mock 10 receivers in the first round and still not get to him. So, as draft season approaches, I'm kind of trying to put it on the back of my mind until, I'm done enjoying the Super Bowl. But there's a lot of prospects to be excited about. And I think Mobile does a great job showcasing all that young talent.
A couple of guys that I liked. I mean, I wasn't there, but I did watch all the practices. I watched the game. I thought that Tyler Guyton, the offensive lineman, the tackle from Oklahoma, had a really good week, really good practices. Looks the part. I think there's a lot of potential there, room to grow. Brendan Rice, I think Brendan Rice looked really good in one-on-ones. It's tough to have a dad like that, but I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to be a great player, but he's going to be really solid, big playmaker. It's just a matter of what type of team he goes to and what type of consistent, the word I'm looking for, target share goes to him. Another player that I really liked was Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. I think that he shares a lot of qualities that Debo had. Strong physical runner, dangerous with the ball. He's going to be an issue to bring down.
Yeah, I saw him.
He came out of college.
I said what's up to Xavier Leggett. I told him I want to see him in Buffalo.
So just a pause on Xavier Leggett. So I will say quarterback play was, I think, a huge detriment to his week. I think you'd be hearing so much more about him if there were quarterbacks that were consistently capable of hitting a deep ball, which is where he thrives. And I will say something that I think hurt his draft stock this week is how inflated his measurables were. He was reported to be 6'4" by his college, and he was 6'1" or 6'2" at the Senior Bowl. So, 3 inches is just enough. I do think that in this case, it probably was going to be missed. So
one thing about this draft class, though, is that the wide receiving talent is right around that 6'3", 6'4" mark. There's a lot of really big wide receivers in this draft this year. But yeah, those are my three risers. I'm forgetting the name, but at this point, there was one dude who was hyped going into the Senior Bowl, and I just didn't see a lot. Honestly, I don't think Bo Nix had a good practices. I thought he was missing some really routine passes, and I'm scared for the team if a team wants to take him with a top 50 pick. That scares me. I think that he needs a lot of work. And now I'm fading on Penix as well. I think Penix has a stronger
I think Penix will be good in the right situation. I don't think he's a year one starter. He looked okay in practices, and he's a really nice dude. Blake and I got to talk to him. Seems like he's got the right attitude, the right mentality, and it kind of sounds like he sat out the game because he just wanted to give other people the chance, and he didn't really feel like it was going to move the needle much for him, which I think is a really respectable reason not to play. He was trying to give the showcase opportunity to guys who needed it. So I think he'll be okay. I don't hate Penix at all as a top 50 pick. Bottom of the first round is a little rich for me, but if you're looking for that fifth-year option for a Jordan Love kind of situation, I think that is really the key. So,
isn't he already 25?
He is older, yes. So I honestly would not hate if the Jets are completely done with Zach Wilson. That is not a fit I would hate if they found a way to trade up in the second to get him. Please take a tackle in the first Jets. I'm begging you.
Yeah.
But him sitting behind Rodgers for a year, potentially 2 years, or if Rodgers retires, a bridge quarterback, and then playing in year 3 seems like a really, really good fit to me.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. All right. I think that was a good recap of the Senior Bowl. Do we want to start talking coaching hires?
Yeah, man. What a year for these coaching hires. I felt like nothing went how I expected. Some of the big names just didn't go at all. So we'll go through them. So let's start with the Chargers. I think maybe probably the most high-profile hire of the offseason. Jim Harbaugh comes out of college football after bringing Michigan a championship, and he moves to the West Coast to work with premier arm talent quarterback Justin Herbert. Good fit, bad fit? What are we thinking, guys?
I mean, I think that's a slam dunk. Because the thing about it though is like a lot of like Harbaugh is going to change that team to work for him. Like everywhere John goes or Jim goes, I'm sorry. It's kind of the same thing. They have a really aggressive defense that makes people play uncomfortable. They have a really strong running game. Their play action is great. And I'm not saying they're not going to throw the ball or stretch the field, but like Harbaugh has like the same system that he builds up and culture that he builds up everywhere he goes, from Stanford to the 49ers to Michigan. Like they're all like the same sort of team. And I think that Justin Herbert desperately needs a strong defense to like help him propel him into that next level, or that like them to that next level of team. Because like we've seen Herbert be a very talented quarterback. But like then you got Brandon Staley out here going for it on 4th and 3 on your own 20-yard line, doing dumb things like that. Or dude who's supposed to be a defensive genius just getting absolutely worked every single week on the defensive side of the ball. They gave up 70 points to the Raiders, right? Is that like that was the game he got fired after?
Just about, yeah.
So like that's absurd.
The Raiders got out before.
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell he torched that defense. Awful. Anyway, Harbaugh comes in. I think that this is just a slam dunk fit. I think that Saquon could be like on his way there. Yeah, Eckler's on the last year of his deal. You guys might get Eckler.
No,
Louie's cringing over there.
I want Saquon in a Texans uniform so badly.
But yeah, I think that's going to be like one of their top like free agents that they go after. I think that Allen's going to stay. I hope Mike Williams gets healthy. I think that they could take like Brock Bowers in the first round this year and like add that tight end threat. Yeah, I really like the hire. Bahuki, what do you think?
I think you hit a lot of the major points there about how he has a trail of success, and like, and it's pretty much, it goes the same way every time. I think that was a really good point. And you also hit on Brandon Staley. Yeah, that's one of the big things, is it has to be better than it was with Brandon Staley at minimum. But then what is their ceiling? They're in a division with the Chiefs. The Broncos are getting better, we think. The Raiders are going to be better, we think. I don't know, but they have to be a playoff team at minimum. Will they be good enough to win a playoff game? That remains to be seen in this loaded AFC. But that's exactly what it is. It's just another contender to throw into this crazy AFC gauntlet.
Yeah, I do like the hire. I think Harbaugh was probably the star catch of the offseason, and I think we all kind of knew whatever coaching hire happened that was going to be the case. A couple of my concerns, I think you guys really touched on the positives. My concerns are roster construction at the moment. Like, will they be able to turn this thing over enough in 1 year? You got a lot of aging players, a lot of Keenan Allens, a lot of Austin Eckler's, a lot of Khalil Mack's. Like, there's just a lot of old, well-paid players on this team that are going to have to go this offseason. I think Justin Herbert's status in the AFC, not that this really matters, is going to be lowered a little bit in the next couple of years because Harbaugh just likes to run the ball. He's not going to be slinging it. I think if you are a dynasty owner for Justin Herbert, that you're probably looking for a way out right now, or you should be. And anybody who thinks that they're buying Herbert low, I take advantage of those people because for the next 3 years at least, while Harbaugh is trying to get this to work, I just don't see this being a pass-heavy team. I also think this comes at an inopportune time because Herbert's not on a rookie deal anymore. And I think statistically it's easier to win a Super Bowl when your quarterback's on a rookie deal. And the last thing I'll say is just I am interested to see how Harbaugh can separate college from the NFL. And I'm going to be interested to see how many Michigan players end up with the Chargers. Like, is he going to go draft his running backs or try and draft his running backs? Is Roman Wilson going to end up on this team? Things like that. Not that those guys are bad players, but I don't think you can just try and repeat that success at the same level in the same way. And so I'll be interested to see how he's going to fit in that. That's actually a really good comment. That could be interesting. I actually think DeAndre Swift's a pretty underrated running back as long as he has a good line. Could be a really good sneaky fit, I think. I like that comment, Joe.
You can see Josh Jacobs going there too.
Yeah, I think Josh ends up staying, but we'll see.
All right, next coach.
Next coach, let's talk about the Commanders. Good old Dan Quinn.
Yuck.
Bit of a retread. Kind of feels like exactly what they did with Ron Rivera.
I agree.
They have the number 2 overall pick. They just hired Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator, or Dan Quinn did that. Decent amount of cap space, some young, good-ish players. Why do we think this job was undesirable? New ownership. Ben Johnson dragged these guys pretty hard in the media. What are your thoughts, guys?
I don't think it was undesirable. I think that they had their pick. Like they singled out Ben Johnson. Like everything was going to happen. Ben Johnson this, Ben Johnson that. And like as soon as the Lions lost, like they were getting on the plane to go and have that final meeting. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to stay at the Lions. And I think if they widened their search and had other people like to approach at that, like before that, they would have gotten somebody else. But I think that they thought that Johnson was, it's kind of like the Josh McDaniels to Indy thing that happened a few years back where like everything was just saying in like they were just saying yes, yes, yes. And then all of a sudden it was like, no. And then they're like, crap, now we're going to have to go do this. You know what I mean? So I don't hate it.
You don't hate.
I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
The Cowboys were kind of like already looking to move on from Dan Quinn, and I feel like I wish we had Shane here to ask his opinion of this one. He would be a really good person to ask, but yeah, I feel like this is just kind of like a meh hire. I don't feel like it moves the needle that much. I feel like I kind of expect more of the same. I guess Cliff Kingsbury is a pretty good hire at OC, and it's kind of a.
It's a good point.
Every time.
Sorry, yeah, they have like some of the most cap space in the NFL, number 2 pick. So we'll find out. It's pretty much a blank slate.
What's wrong with Eric Bieniemy, by the way, guys? Like, what's the like? Why? I don't understand.
I guess, just my guess, and I have nothing to back this up. Is I'm guessing it's a personality thing. Like maybe he just has trouble getting along with people, and ownership are like GMs usually have significant influence in the head coaching decision if they don't decide it themselves. And I think maybe he just has trouble getting along with those people.
He's not even staying as OC though. Like they brought in a new OC. Like I'm just like, that's tough to me. Like it's got like I don't know what the deal is. You know what I mean? I think he goes back to Kansas City to be honest next year, and they replace Nagy with Bieniemy and get the band back. But what do you think, Louie, about Dan Quinn here?
Yeah, I feel like you guys touched it. It's to me a meh hire, but I'm bordering on bad. My biggest thing is like this feels like a hire where you feel like you have a really good competing roster and you're like maybe bringing in the stability, like our player level, we're just going to get back in there. When you have a roster this raw, I would really like to see, I'd like to see you take a swing on a young guy. I know Ben Johnson's who they were after. I feel like there's other coaching talent that you could have looked to just to see what they have. Like maybe you find a diamond in the rough. Maybe you find the next offensive play caller, stunt man, whatever. And instead, you're going to retread an old guy, and you know what that ceiling is. He's not gonna take it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he is. He might. He did it before. He did it with Atlanta. But like, I don't think he's the guy to take him over that hump. And like with this roster, that's probably far fetched. But like, there are some positives to Dan Quinn. We're talking about him kind of like he's Matt Patricia. He's not. You know,
He's
what I
not Matt
mean?
Patricia. No, he's not. I do think I think it'll be good for Drake May's development, or possibly Caleb Williams, as the rumors circulate. I think it'll be good for the quarterback's development to have Cliff Kingsbury and a steady head coach in Dan Quinn. But if I'm being honest, I like Vrabel for this job a whole heck of a lot more than I like Dan Quinn.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one.
All right. Next head coaching hire. Let's talk Falcons. They hired Raheem Morris, who promptly brings in Zach Robinson, the passing coordinator for the Rams. That was getting a lot of OC attention. So Falcons go defensive head coach, but he immediately brings in his offensive guy that they're pretty intimately familiar. Falcons have some good skill positions, still lacking quarterback. I think they're picking like 10th overall or 8th overall. Eighth again. Yeah. Like the third consecutive year. What do you guys think about this one? Raheem Morris, you think defense is the answer in Atlanta?
I think that it resembles what D'Amico Ryans did last year with the Texans. Like he got his interviews and he went to him with a pitch being like, listen, if I get this job, like he's coming, like this is my guy coming with me from this offense. And like this is what we're gonna try and replicate over here. He has a solid plan in place. He brought his own personnel that he knows personally that know that system he wants to run, and I like it. I think it was a slam dunk. I think that if they went the Bill Belichick route, like that team was just gonna. I don't know with that. So I like Raheem Morris. I think that he is one of those just like get the most out of his players type of player. And Zach Robinson was who I wanted as an OC in New England, so love him going there. I like what they can replicate what the Rams do in that offense as well. Like what is Bijan Robinson except a bigger, faster, stronger Kyron Williams? What is Drake London but like Puka Nacua, like, you know, a bigger, faster, stronger Puka Nacua. You know what I mean?
I don't know if anyone's stronger than Puka Nacua, but I get the sentiment.
And then they have Kyle Pitts, who you would think is a better, faster, stronger version of Tyler Higbee. You know what I mean? Like those three players can emulate what they did in Los Angeles, but like technically they're higher potential players. Maybe Puka is better than Drake London overall, but like the other two it's pretty simple on that one for me. Behuki, what do you think?
Yeah, I liked what you said about this kind of being more of a fresh approach than it would have been like with Bill Belichick and him having his plan and how he wants to go about doing it. I think that this job and the last one we talked about with Washington, both of them are how they do is going to be dependent on them getting the quarterback position right. And but yeah, you highlighted all the weapons this team has. They're in a really weak division, man. Like I think the Buccaneers are still going to be pretty decent. I don't know what's going on with the Panthers. I don't know what's going on with the Saints. The Saints are going to have to sell half of that team. There's definitely a road to the playoffs. I mean, so I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic. I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10 right now. And I mean, what they do this offseason and the coming season, that'll obviously change.
Louie, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually like this hire decently because of the Zach Robinson implementation. I think Raheem Morris is a good leader of men, like you said, like D'Amico, defensive minded, but a player that a coach that the players are going to want to be with. And I think they're going to get this offense humming. You have too many pieces for it not to. You have a good athletic offensive line. You have the best or top 3 young running back. I think everybody's got an unfavorable look of Drake London right now, but I think he's good. So yeah, I think this team's going to get back on track, and they're my favorite right now to win the NFC South.
Yeah. All right. Next team.
Panthers, Dave Canales. I'm going to go ahead and lead off on this one, I guess. I don't know how I feel about this hire. I like Canales' work with quarterbacks. I just don't know if traditional methods are going to work on a quarterback with the measurables of Bryce Young. I know this is a very over-debated point, but I do think his height and his size are just going to be a little bit of a stigmatism for him in the league. I also just think you wanted, I get that last season they tried the Frank Reich established coach, we're going to bring in this guy who knows what he's doing. I think Canales might be a little too green, and I just don't know that you have a lot of time to play around with Bryce Young's development before you get it right. I don't think Canales has 2 seasons to figure this out, or you're looking for another quarterback. You cannot ruin this kid. So I'm concerned about this hire. Well, I have to look more into the staff that he is bringing in. But this is a very questionable okay for me.
I'm one of the big I'm probably one of the biggest Bryce Young isn't gonna make it guys in the NFL in these spaces. But what I will say is you were talking about his height, his weight. I think Baker is a similar size to Bryce Young. Baker is a little bit more meat to him for sure. But I believe that they're both 6 feet, give or take. I think Baker's one of the shorter quarterbacks. And I think that Canales definitely got the most out of Baker that we've seen in years. So I think that it's a solid person to try and go after. I'm pretty sure he brought somebody from the Bucs to be the offensive coordinator. I'm blanking on the name at the moment, but the biggest problem with the Panthers is talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They don't have a first-round draft pick this year, and it's just they're going to have to spend to get some talent and rework the offense to kind of emulate what Tampa did, because Tampa has 2 premier wideouts, a really good running back, a solid veteran offensive line. So I like it, but again, I just question the amount of talent on this team. Go for it, Bahuki.
Yeah, you guys once again hit a lot of the great points here.
You can go first next.
living in Tampa, I have a lot of friends who are Bucs fans. They were not really that sad to see this guy go. I say good job to the Panthers being able to hire anyone, because I don't know who in their right mind would want to take that job. It is, obviously a massive salary bump for to go from coordinator to head coach, especially if
they gave him a 6-year deal as well. I'm pretty sure that they have 3 coaches who have current contracts with the team right now. And what's his name? Matt Jarrell, Frank Reich, and Canales are all signed through 2027.
So yeah, we'll see if he gets to coach out that contract. This job, I mean, just seems designed for anyone to fail. You mentioned no first round draft pick. Their cap situation, they're middle of the road. They're 12th of 32. They have about 26 and a half estimated or practical cap space. So good luck, Charlie.
Next team.
All right. Next team is Patriots. Let's talk about Jared Mayo.
Rod Mayo, USC linebacker.
I like Mayo. Boothie, I know I said you could go first, but I'm going to take it first because,
Yeah, You're good.
So I really like Mayo. I'm more concerned. Like I said, I like Mayo. I'm concerned that they didn't actually have a head coaching search because they didn't interview anybody. They didn't like reach out to. They just were like, yeah, we're gonna hire Mayo. Like Mayo's the guy. When Mike Vrabel was available, when you have these other offensive, young-minded guys kind of being available. I like DeMarcus Covington getting elevated from the defensive line coach to the defensive coordinator. I think that he is one of those rising stars on the defensive side. Um, I like, don't love, don't hate the Alex Van Pelt offensive coordinator signing. I think it's very bland. I do like his work with quarterbacks. I do think that towards the end of last year, he got Joe Flacco up off the couch and had a team with third string tackles, second string running back, fourth quarterback, kind of in the playoffs, winning a playoff game. You know what I mean? Or not winning a playoff game, but getting to the playoffs. They won 11 games. Like, I think that shows a lot. He's not a play caller, never been a play caller in the NFL. He's called plays like 3 times, I think, in emergency situations. I absolutely hate Ben McAdoo coming to town being a senior offensive assistant. That's gross. So I'm going to go ahead and give it like a C- if you put all of that together. But I do like Mayo, and I do think Mayo is somebody that players are going to want to play for. And I think it just kind of ran out for Bill. So, yeah, Bahuki, you want to go now?
Yeah, sure. It doesn't move the needle that much. As someone who's in the AFC, I feel like it's more it's a little bit fresher eyes, but it's really just kind of more of the same. Maybe Gerard Mayo will be, a little bit more willing to listen to ideas. I think the bigger question here is what's going on with general manager for you guys?
I think it's going to be Elliott Wolf. Elliott Wolf, who's had experience in Green Bay, who's been in he was in Cleveland as well. He's had actual experience outside away from Bill. And I'm pretty sure there were people in the department back in the 2018 draft that were begging Bill to take Deebo Samuel or A.J. Brown over N'Keal Harry, and he didn't. So I gotta hope that the people saying to take these players are actually going to be allowed to take these players that they like scout on a regular basis.
That's that. I mean, I feel like the Gerard Mayo and Alex Van Pelt, it's like, all right, they're coaches. Gerard Mayo was a former first-round pick of the organization. He's been under Bill, so Bill kind of has his like fingerprint on the organization at least for one more cycle. Who the GM that comes in and starts making those?
Yeah. Yep.
The Jets are going to be better this year. Knock on wood that Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, but they have to be better. I think Miami's going to take a step back. They're going to have to pay Tua some amount of money. Big Fangio left. Their cap situation is the second worst in the NFL behind only the Saints. So I think that Miami's going to come back a little bit, but New England's got a long way to go. They're still the fourth team in that division. And
they do have money and they do have a top pick in each round. So you gotta have a good offseason. You have to have a good offseason.
This is a massive freaking offseason for you guys. And what Elliot, what's his name?
Elliott Wolf.
Elliott Wolf. What he does coming up here is really going to be massive. Call me crazy. I think you guys have the ability to pass Miami this coming year, and I think there's a chance Miami could finish fourth in the division. If you guys do everything right. Otherwise, you guys will probably be fourth in the division again. But I think the division is going to be between Buffalo and New York this coming year.
Word. Louie, what do you think, bud?
I think you guys pretty much covered it. I don't have a huge opinion on this hire. I think it's a double down on the Patriot way. I think Vrabel, again, would have been my preference here, but I don't hate Mayo. I just think you have to give it a chance and see how much. I think until we know how much Bill was actually influencing decision making, and it sounds like it was a lot. There's really no way to tell. Maybe this is all the change it needed, right? Because there's no way to argue that the play calling is archaic because the roster construction is abysmal. So maybe if Bill hadn't been so bad at drafting over the last 5 years, maybe he would still be head coach.
He definitely would. But all right, yeah, we can move on to the next game.
All right. Next we have we need to pick up the clip just a little bit. I feel like we could talk about anything for forever. Antonio Pierce to the Raiders, interim coach gets hired. I don't have a huge opinion on this one either. I feel like this is a bit of a placeholder for Antonio Pierce, unfortunately. The players wanted him, so they got him. I think they finished last in the division this year. I think there's a lot of question marks on this team. No quarterback. I don't think they're picking high enough to take a quarterback. I think they've got a lot of dudes on big contracts they're going to have to try and resign or move or figure out. I think the line is still bad. I think Antonio Pierce is a fine hire. I just don't think he's set up for success.
Yeah, I like Antonio Pierce's their defense definitely stepped up as soon as he got named interim head coach. Their whole team played a lot harder. But I like Patrick Graham as a defensive coordinator. They're bringing in Marvin Lewis as like a senior offensive or senior assistant coach to kind of like help Antonio Pierce out in like semantics. But the one hire I really don't like is Luke Getsy going as offensive coordinator. I thought they almost had Cliff Kingsbury, and then he spurred them to go to Washington, and I think that's really going to hurt them. I said this like 2 months ago in an article, but I still truly believe that the Raiders are going to trade Max Crosby and picks to the Bears for number one, and go get a quarterback. I truly believe that. So, but yeah, they have a lot of building to do, and I don't think that it's going to get all done this year. I think that I like the head coach. I like the DC. Hate the offensive coordinator hire, and yeah, that's where we're at on that one. What else? What else we got?
Did you want to talk about Antonio Pierce, Blake?
Oh, Blake, my bad.
They caught a little bit of momentum, as Tyler said. Will they be able to continue to keep it going? It's going to be tough in this division. We'll see what happens with Andy Reid and and if he retires, and then maybe Bill does get a job. I think that's pretty much the only way we see Bill Belichick get a job here. I don't know if Andy Reid retires. That's kind of crazy to think about, but maybe that might happen. Either way, this division is just ridiculous. It's now approaching the level that the AFC North is at with Harbaugh entering the ring, and I see why they hired him, but he's probably the fourth best coach in this division, and that's probably how the results are gonna reflect at the end of the regular season next year.
Okay. So next we'll move on to Brian Callahan to the Titans. Just take it right back up, Blake. What are your thoughts here to lead off?
I don't really have that many thoughts about the Titans, man. They have a long. If I'm being completely honest, they have a long way to go in that division, which it's looking like your Texans have a pretty strong stranglehold on. We'll see what there you go. All right, that's pretty well timed right there. We'll see how the Jaguars rebound. I don't know, man. Who do they have at GM right now? Is another
the Niners assistant GM. Let me look it up.
Is it the same guy or is it a new guy?
It's like Mons something. Is that right? Is he there? No. Rand Carthen.
When did he just get hired, or is he?
Yes, he's new.
So yeah, I think that's another one. Like we're asking about the head coaches. I think we got to be asking about some of these general managers, and that's all. That's all we can do right now is ask questions because it's gonna take. We're gonna.
Need some time to let the things air out. Yep, totally understand that.
I think this Callahan fella has got his work cut out for him. Is what I think, and this new GM has got to do him at least a couple favors here in this offseason. They have a ton of cap space and an earlier pick.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting hire. Bengals passing game coordinator or offensive coordinator, maybe. He's from that tree. I think it's interesting because I think it's going to move them away from the Derrick Henry identity, which I think speaks a lot about where he's going to be playing next season. I agree with you. I think it's a tall task. I think the GM has a much easier road ahead than the coach does. Because from the GM's perspective, you're probably going to have the premier picks in this league, in this division for the next couple of years. Like, there's a real chance you go 0-6 against this division consistently until you figure things out. I don't think any of these teams are a pushover. So in that case, it helps your draft stock because you're going to be picking consistently in the top half of the first round. I think the bad side of that is that it's really hard to climb out when you're on the bottom. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, all these three of these teams, except for maybe the Jaguars, depending how you look at it, are really young. Like Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud are both going to be on rookie deals for 4 years. And, Jacksonville is going to re-up Lawrence. They're going to keep investing into that offense. So I just think this is a hard road to go. And I don't have high hopes that Brian Callahan's the guy to get it done.
I actually like this hire. I think that they brought him in because I think that they believe in Will Levis and they want to try and build him up as much as possible and try and get him, because there is a lot of potential there. He showed potential this season. Like, he showed that he has a cannon. He showed he can play in this league. It's just a matter of building consistency around him and building a team around him. Their offensive line needs help, and they definitely need some more skill position players. But, like, if you can get the similar type mentoring that Joe Burrow got, I think that could go a long way for a player like Will Levis. And if they think that that's their guy, they don't have to worry about that with 2 years worth of first round picks. That's how you build your offense and you build your team. Like, I like the Callahan signing. I thought that he was one of the better hires of the coaching cycle. But yeah. Next.
Yeah. So finally, we have Mike McDonald to the Seahawks. That's the last coaching hire. We're going to buzz through this one. I'm going to save myself for last because I actually have a pretty big piece to say with this.
Word. I'll go first. I freaking love it. I like Mike McDonald a lot. I think that this defense has a lot of pieces on it that he can work with. And he said straight up, like, oh, I'm going to call the defense. I'm going to organize the defense. I don't think they finalized their offensive coordinator yet. That's going to be a real big piece of this. I think that Washington's offensive coordinator, the University of Washington, I think that he has there's been rumors that he might be the guy, and I love that because he ran a lot of 3 wide receiver sets of NFL offense. What do the Seahawks have? They have 3 good wide receivers, and who do they have at quarterback? Basically, an older Michael Penix with a better arm and Geno Smith. So I like Mike McDonald. I think he's one of those guys who just is going to be a good head coach. So yeah, I think that they nailed this one. Luke, you want to go?
Yeah, I think this one was a slam dunk. I think this was possibly the best hire of the bunch, and I think he's going to come in here and compete. This is a team this isn't like the last few jobs that we've talked about where it's really bare bones and we're talking about the head coach, but we should really be talking about the GM. Like this team has the ability to come in and compete with these teams in this division, and I think that this is going to be one of the ones that I don't know for the people who pay attention, they know that this was a good hire, but this doesn't have the pizzazz of a Jim Harbaugh hire, but we might be talking about it that way in a year or two.
Yeah. Just to wrap that up, I agree with you guys. I think this is second best hire, probably behind Harbaugh, but I think it could compete for best hire. And the reason is the league is copycat league. And I think they're really big on copying Shanahan right now. And this guy put Shanahan offenses through the blender this season. His defensive front is absolutely, it's almost unfathomably stunted. Like quarterback, the amount of prep that would have to go in to preparing for a defense like this, nigh unto impossible. And I think that showed in a lot of games. And if he can replicate any kind of version of that Ravens defense in Seattle, I think this team's going to be really, really good for a really long time. And I think this is going to be the next coaching tree that's probably going to have people poached from it. This feels like a future move. Everybody else is an imitation move. They're like, no, we want to be different. This is our guy. And I completely agree with the sentiment. I think he's going to be really good for this team.
Awesome. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for us, isn't it?
Yep, that's everything. So from all of us here at Fifth Down Territory and at Stadium Rant, we hope you guys have a great and a very safe Super Bowl Sunday. Please drink responsibly. We would love to see you all next Tuesday. I hope your teams win, unless you're a Chiefs fan, and then I hope your team loses. Until then, check out our articles, check out our newsletter, guys. And as always, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Later.